Hello there. I am Player One, and this is I Like to Think. Now, this is a small channel, and I want to see if I can get it to grow. Now, this is just a hobby for me. It's not that much. It is just a place for me to put all these little ideas to use. So when you have a lot of ideas inside of your head, those ideas begin to grow and grow and grow, and they make your head hurt. And my head's been hurting a lot. Not literally, but mentally. My ideas, the thoughts inside my head, I always feel like I have to use them. If it's not a door with a place for a pull-up bar that doesn't actually damage the door frame, which is a problem that I became aware of very, violently. Now, talking about this design, I had the idea of taking just an ordinary door frame, ignore the wiggly, and removing these parts, the parts that like kind of stick out, removing those and then introducing a little plate at which I would screw these things in, or at which it would be screwed in for the top with sides, so it'd be like this. It'd be the shape of a metal plate with a bar in the middle. Now, this bar would have a similar plate on each of the ends screwed in to work kind of like how hinges are connected up to the door. Except it's not going to move. It's just going to have those little screws. And those screws are going to make this so it doesn't, break or fall off or have any of those things. Now, the big problem with this idea is because you're going to have your door, and it's going to have a little hole at the top. That is the biggest problem. Now, I've thought of many different ways of solving this, one of which is modifying the door. Now, if you modify the door like this, you can have the bar in here and have the outside world this way. But this would only work if the door swung this way, because then it wouldn't hit the bar. If it goes this way, nothing happens, but if it goes this way, it collides against the bar. There's also another way. It's where we take the metal plates on the side and we make them have layers like onions. Now I'm going to actually clear up my workspace. That is not half the size I need. Now, what the big idea here is I am going to create the plate. And the plate is going to be unique, as in, the plate is going to have, it's going to look like this from the front with a little slot down the middle. Now, in reality, it's actually going to be turned this way, so it's going to be like this. Now it's going to have a little line through the middle. This is going to be where the bar goes. Now, from the side, it would look like this, except there would be, now, that is not actually what it would look like, because if I remove some of this, isn't like right here, let's say that's where the bar is going to be. I'm going to use that, and I'm going to bring this over here after I bring that up there. I'm going to make you go down like this, go like this, go like this, go like this. Now, this is a bit thicker than the design, but basically imagine if this was like an even line. Now, you can't exactly see my dot. I'm going to make it bigger. Now, imagine this was just, this is going to be where like the edge of the bar is going to be. And the bar is going to slide. In reality, this is going to be at a slope. No, it's not. But it's going to connect up to the door. Like this, the part that we're needing to look at is going to connect up to the door. The door is going to be like this. And I'm realizing that's way too big. Anyways, the door is going to be like this. And the door, it's going to have a little thing like this that connects up to the bar. So, in order for me to portray this better, and I'm sick and tired of this, Grandpa. Why are you doing this to me? Why? Why are you changing all of these things? Now that we've shattered it into multiple pieces, let's bring this, let's bring this, let's touch this. I'm about to... Okay, so we're going to take this, we're going to take this, we're going to make that. And now, from here, I'm going to try and draw. Okay, let's think here. So we're going to have our door. Now, this door is going to have a bar that attaches to the bar. So let's say this is actually the door frame, and this is our bar right there. Now, if we look at it from the side, the bar is going to need a couple hinges. We're going to need to connect the bar up to the door. Now, if we did this at one point, it would work. So we just need to figure out, if we look at it from above, this is going to be the bar, and this is going to be the door. Actually, no, they're going to have to be the same length, which means that, no, okay. So what we're going to have is a line about the same length. So when we do this, this might work actually, but no, we would need, this. Bar, door. So that when the door closes, you're going to be left with. Now there are going to be gaps on the side of the door, just about here, where these little lines, the little outline of the door that allows it to shut smoothly. Please start more completely. I believe I'm looking back to find some doors right now. So I'm looking at this, I'm finding the hinges, I'm looking at the door, and it seems like there is a purpose to that, but we're going to ignore that purpose. And we're just going to remove this so it's flat, so you can attach the little steel frame. It's going to have the holes that you're going to screw in. Now this is going to make it more sturdy and not break your door. And it's going to need various different implements. So it's probably going to be less keepable. So it's probably going to be less marketable. Sorry, less sellable. As in, you can't sell this very well, because it takes so much time to market, to make it good, to make it work. Versus a little bar that all you have to do is expand it, and it just works. Now, that is just one thought that's been going through my head. It's just a little design for a little flaw I've seen, because I've always wanted to have a pull-up bar that is easy to have and accessible, but I'm guessing that is not within my range. Now, the second part to this is electrolysis. It is a process of separating water into hydrogen, I can't remember if it's small, yeah, H2 and then O2 at a ratio of, what's his face, 2 hydrogen, 2 of this for every 1 of this. See? This can be done simpler. H2, 2, 2. Now, the reason why this excuse me, I'm just a little stupid. The reason why this happens is because we're taking H2O and changing it into H2 and O2. And since it's pretty hard to destroy matter, we have to figure out how much hydrogen we're going to have and how much oxygen we're going to have. So, let's have this little experiment. Every 1 water would make 2 H2O and 1 O2. 2H2 and 1 O2 for every 1 water molecule. Which means we're simply just tripling our molecules without losing mass. Which means that, yes, we are making a gas. These are all gases. Now this works by taking a anode and a cathode and putting it in water, and the different poles pull different one of these, I believe. And this happens inside of your batteries, and yeah, I'm pretty sure it happens inside your car batteries a lot, and how they bypass this because whenever you have this happening, it consumes energy, and the more energy you have going through, the more energy will be consumed, and thus that puts a volt cap somewhere between 1 and 2 some sort of unit of volts. Now, how car batteries bypass this, it's kind of fun. They just have a bunch of these little things that allow you to store energy and take it out about 1 to 2 volts. And then you have a bunch of them, a bunch of these little units. And then you take each of those 1 to 2, 1 to 2, and 1 to 2, and then you just take all that, and then you just add all those volts together, because each one of these is producing 1 to 2 volts. And since these units are so small and so plentiful, you make more volts, which is, if this was all, so that means 6 to 12. So we go from 1 to 2 volts in one battery to 6 to 12 volts in all these batteries. And it's really interesting how people solve things, and it's cool. Now, the problem that I'm solving with this little design of mine is the problem of separating hydrogen and oxygen efficiently without mixing the two. Because when you mix the two, it makes a really reactive substance. That is, I forgot what it is, but it's like dioxy something. Basically, it's H2 plus O2. And it's still 2H plus O2. And it's just the reverse of separating it. Equals H2O. Now, I believe this is actually 2H2. Yes, 2H2O. Yeah. So anyways, so you combine this, and then boom, you have a lot of energy that was consumed inside of the process of separating it. Now, this is going to work as battery, except it's going to use gas. But the simple design is basically, you're going to have, this is the front facing, you're going to have this, and you're going to have this. Now, what this is, if you're not seeing everything, is this is going to be where we're containing our water. This is going to be where we're containing our H2, and this is going to be where we're containing our O2. Inside of this, you're going to have a side view that's going to look sort of like this. Now, it's going to be a rectangle because we're seeing this from the side. Now, it's not actually a rectangle, it looks like it. Anyways, you're going to have dividers, and you're going to have anodes and cathodes. Now, let's make the anodes and cathodes like this. And yes, I do have a way to make it so that they get energy that is not the amounts, sorry, they get the positive or negative or whatever, they get the other end efficiently. Now, the water level is going to be about here, and we can introduce a little storage thing for more water to make sure that this doesn't go below, because we're going to be dividing these with a different material that allows for electrolysis to occur, but doesn't allow for the gases to mix. Now, my idea right now is fabric or battery separators. What I mean by this is we are going to put a battery separator or cloth that, since it's constantly submerged, now this, I'm going to say actually is going to be more like around here, and this is going to be how that's going to be happening. If we found a way to make it so that this does not lead to the water, which means we can actually just scrap the top thing, this thing right about here. We can scrap that and replace it with something better. Now, what is that better idea, you may say? Well, simple. You're going to have a water tank that's black. We're going to have a water tank over here that leads down into the bottom of this, that because of the pressures that are happening from the gravity, this is going to be water, it's going to push down and push up. As in, it's going to, like that. Now, one thing that I do remember is that there was a little itsy bitsy problem with water and how it works that allows you to have uneven water levels, but I can't remember what it was, and it was really fascinating on how it worked. But anyways, this is just a few principles of water. So what's going to happen here is that this, let's say this is the one that produces hydrogen. This is going to be the one that produces oxygen, hydrogen, oxygen, hydrogen, oxygen, and it's going to be inside this order because the one that makes hydrogen has to have the one that makes oxygen on the other end. Now we would probably need to add one more so that it's even. Luckily for us, the dividers are made in such a way that we can easily expand it in this way. Okay, so this one's going to be hydrogen. Now this hydrogen is going to get everything that it needs from the oxygen, from this side and this side. So basically, this is going to divide water here. This is going to divide water. Anyways, this is basically going to be how that part works. Now, on the top view, you're going to be wondering, how does this work? Well, it's simple. You just have a braid, kind of. It's this thing goes over to this tank, and it's just going to be like, this. These are going to be the tubes that this is going to be that. This is that. Okay, now I've confused myself. Let's quickly. Okay, so we're going to have a tube here, and tube. This one's going to be all of the hydrogens. This one's going to be all the oxygens. And since it's going in one other, it's going to be dividing each of the hydrogens and oxygens into their places so that they don't mix. And once they don't mix, we can remix them in a way that basically puts, let's just say, boom, boom, it's going to release it, and then it's going to mix. And then after a little chamber with a little like, it's a little like, you know, it kind of looks like mics, you know. It's a mesh. We're gonna have a mesh here, and then we're gonna have the ignition chamber here. Now, there are a couple different ways that this could be used. You could put it inside of a combustion chamber. Now, I don't know how much of this mix of this you would need inside of each chamber to create enough to move it, but basically you put it into a generator, which makes it go into kinetic energy, which you're gonna convert into electrical energy. At least I think that's its name. The energy when you displace electrons. So basically you're gonna go from electrical energy to chemical energy to kinetic energy to energy again. So my question is this good? Because I'm starting to think that this might not be all that great. Though I would say that you might not have a lot of decay in this. It might be easier contained than this. But that's just what I'm thinking. But you could also notice that, see this? That's kinetic energy right there. Now, kinetic energy can be used for a lot of things. You use it when you throw a ball, you use it when you drive a car, you use it when you run. It's the energy of movement. Kinetic. Now, if you were to take this, and I'm going to enlarge my dot for a second. When you take this, you can move things with it. And like I said before, cars. You know the things. You know the things. Now, excuse my autistic looking car. But this car would technically be electric. But because we're using this, which stored electrical energy, since it stored it as chemical energy, it's also going to be a combustion engine. Or in other words, if we find the right ratio of all of this crap, and if we find out how to make it close enough to the efficiency of diesel, you could change gas cars into electric cars and vice versa. Not vice versa, but you can change them back into gasoline cars. which means, depending on which one's cheaper, gas or electricity, you could switch your car willy-nilly, and I just dropped a cab. Excuse me. You could swap between electric and gas, just like that. You could choose whichever one's cheaper for you to do. You can choose if you want to do electric or gas. Now, this would require you to buy a setup like this. So there's also the other option of having someone else do this process for you. Like have your gas stations sell H2O2, you know? So, that's just a little fun idea. Okay, now over to tritium. Nah, actually, I think I'm going to save that idea for next time, and I'm going to call it wraps, because I'm not using up all my ideas on you right now. But if you made it this far, congrats, you are the first. Not even I have made it this far, so congratulations. Congratulations, I'm stupid. You made it. Thank you. And now let me see if I can do this. Have a good day.